Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, talking fishing. If it's facts about fishing that you want to know, then tune in, folks, cause this is the show. We'll show you all the right bait to use, so sit right back, you got nothing to lose. Doesn't really matter if it's trout or carp, flathead, marlin or a gummy shark. Listen to the guys and you can't go wrong. They'll be talking about fishing till the cows come home. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
Now, welcome everyone to Talking Fishing, a massive show as always coming up tonight with all the regular segments including Catch of the Week. And while many people reported it was a very tough Easter for fishing, there's a great variety in this week's catches. It's great to see. Tonight we look at the week, I'll start that again. Tonight we look at last week's state government announcement that all eligible Victorian fishing clubs can apply for a $2,000 grant to grow membership and participation, and we also further discuss the proposed increases to fishing licence fees and how you can have your say. It's a big night, plenty to get through. Let's start with the man that travels by kayak. A big welcome to Adam Ring.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, we got the kayaks out on the weekend and my shoulders are still sore.
Shoulders?
Shoulders paddle.
Yeah.
None of this pedal business. It's not kayaking.
You're paddling.
Yeah, if I want to pedal, I'd ride a bike.
Do you go like this and you got you got the rod there and you're paddling like that?
Yeah.
And then do you do that?
No, not quite.
What do you do?
No, not quite.
In the rod holder. And
No, paddles, just over the side, mate.
Really?
Yeah, just these ones.
Like a duck walking on water.
We better welcome the big man all the way from Shepparton, the one and only Trelly.
Yeah, thank you very much. And trip down again. It's always worth it to come down here for a trip and talk to you guys.
Yeah. Now, duck season opened week before last.
Yeah, they look like Adam.
Paddling.
Trying to get away.
How's it been? How's duck season been?
Really quiet start to duck season because there's not a lot of wetland water around, but they find their way around Eastern Australia. They'll be up in Northern Territory or Queensland or something.
So when there's no water, they just fly to where the water is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So is that something that can't be resurrected? If we got a dump of rain, say this weekend coming, would the ducks turn up?
They would turn up probably a few days later.
Okay.
What, that quick?
Yep, incredible. They'll fly Victoria, New South Wales overnight. No, not a problem.
They watch the news, see the weather. It's raining in central Victoria.
Well, I'm sure they watch the news and say, when's duck opening? They'll take off the week before. Good news, but...
Yeah. How does that go? The punters, there must be a lot of people that anticipate duck hunting and all that sort of stuff. Is that a disappointment?
It's not probably not as big a thing on the calendar now, but you look at all those hunting stories from the old times, it's just huge. All the local hospitals were probably a lot of funding come from fox drives and hare drives back in the 30s, 40s and 50s. You'll see old documentation.
Yeah, what do you mean?
They go out and
a
hunt
fox
foxes.
drive, what's it mean?
A fox drive, they go out and hunt foxes and they'd sell the skins or the pelts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then raise
for the
money
hospital?
For hospitals, yeah. It was a common thing in the country.
Keeps you warm.
Yeah. So, but now the duck hunting has actually taken on a bit of a dual role now because we have a lot of the waterways that we hunt, you can actually fish. So, you just take away your Labrador dog and get him out of retirement. So you take the dog and you take the kids and you do early morning hunt.
Yeah.
And by the time 9 or 10 o'clock, you've cleaned your bag and then you're into the fishing.
There you go. We might talk about the 60s and 70s later on because seriously, if you'd have seen some of the stuff we spoke about in the last hour. Anyway. Don't forget, you can keep up to date with all the info from tonight on our Facebook page with Catch of the Week, hotspots and much more. Don't forget to like our page. And if you know someone who you think would like to watch the show, tell them we now stream live on the internet and you can also watch a repeat of our show each Thursday and Saturday mornings right here on C31. Just check the program guide for more details. And every episode is posted to our YouTube channel. You'll find the correct links to Facebook, YouTube and live streaming on our website talkingfishing.com.au. We're talking about some of the things that people used to get away with on television back in the 60s. Paul Hogan. You were watching what? Eddie
Murphy.
Eddie
Raw.
Murphy Raw. Yeah. Just wouldn't be allowed these days. But anyway, maybe we should do Talking Fishing Uncut.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
or
for the last episode before Channel 31, so we can't get in trouble.
Oh, before they close?
Yeah, so we can't get in trouble.
Yeah, okay.
Down where we eat.
Boys, let's have a look at what's being caught by the people at home. It's time for Catch of the Week.
Catch of the week. When you get to see yourself on TV.
And like I said, many people reporting that it was a very tough Easter. Not sure whether it was the full moon last Wednesday.
Yeah,
or...
so I should have been fishing with a few of these people that sent in their photos because I didn't go on one of those ones saying it was tough.
There's a fair few good catches, but a lot of people said they did it tough. A lot of the boys at work did it tough. So particularly Jesse, he did it pretty tough.
Very tough.
But anyway, let's kick it off. And John Henwood, he got a lovely handful of King George whiting.
That's not bad.
Out at the Pinnis Channel. You've got to say thank you very much for those. They're nice looking fish, aren't they?
Yeah.
Bit too far to paddle.
Pinnis Channel. But I tell you what, the Pinnis Channel, and it's one of my favourite spots, is a place where you go when things are tough. You go out there because there's a lot less traffic. It's right out, for people that don't know, out on the northeastern side of Mud Island, if you like, but right up that northern tip before it goes deep into the bay proper. And it's just one of those places that if you're struggling to catch a whiting, get out to the Pinnis Channel and you usually do it right
So is
there.
that why it is a last resort? Because it's a fair travel. It's a fair bit of travel to get there.
Yeah.
But it's not too far away from, like you say, the channel and some of that deeper water where you can chase a snapper and things like
That's
that.
right.
too, so-
And in all honesty, it's a 10 to 12 minute ride from Sorrento Boat Ramp. So,
not too bad.
so all pretty good. But if you want to paddle out there, it might take you a little bit longer.
Still be paddling.
Now this has got to be a world record, I reckon. This one. Have a look at this for a cuttlefish. Tom Sansa. He sent us in this photo of a cuttlefish that he caught off Rosebud. He said it weighed every bit of 5 kilos. That is a monster of the deep.
Jeez, it was a bit rough out there that day.
It was a bit rough, yeah. Southerlies.
They're an ugly animal.
That had so much ink in it, Tom said. It was just incredible. That is...
Looks like something you'd see in the blue-green algae up there.
yeah.
If it was green.
Except I tell you what, it tastes 100 times better, Charlie. That cuttlefish would just be absolutely sensational.
It's still good when they're big like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
The meat on one that size would be at least a centimetre, maybe 1.2, 1.3 centimetres, I reckon.
Yeah.
And just sweet and beautiful.
Yep.
Don't need to cook it too much. So let's have a look over at Rye now. And unknown angler, he didn't send us his name. Bad luck, buddy, if you don't want to send us your name. But we just
Billy, you'll call him.
Billy?
Billy.
No, I thought it looked more like Martin. But anyway, nice gummy shark off Rye. And that's just another typical, beautiful, choppy day off Rye. Have a look at that. I mean, what a sensational
Goes
bit
with
of...
refreshments on the side of the boat there.
Oh, there is too.
It's not one of your mates, is it?
Could have been taken on the
Billy the Lid.
on the Goulburn River. But anyway, well done.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Let's keep getting through them. This is land-based now. Let's go over to Western Port at Lang Lang, a very popular spot for people that want to catch either gummies or elephant fish. And well done, Adam and Ben Sihelka, I think you'd say that. Anyway, I reckon that sounds pretty good. I'm getting pretty good with
Well done, boys.
the names there. But well done, boys. Yeah, great to get an elephant fish land-based. And we've seen a few of them.
Yeah, we have.
In fact, Charlie, I've seen a few in Corio Bay in your Chackaworld Geelong report.
Bowen Heads.
And Corio Bay. Bowen Heads.
Yeah, and it's all over.
There you go. Elephants everywhere.
Yep.
Bag limit of one. There's only 8. It's only 8 killed a year
Get amongst
these days.
Get amongst it for one cast.
Let's start having a look at some of the regional photos as well. Ralph and his son got out and had and got some great dusky flathead. Now Ralph actually wrote and he said, "My best mate, who's my son, and I went on an adventure to snag a nice fish, and we bagged these beautiful duskies in a matter of 10 minutes." Smiles around, 3.2 kilos, 790 millimetres catch and released. That's the big one. And a 1.8 kilo, 500 mil that produced some beautiful, nice fillets down at Lake's entrance. Thanks, Ralph.
Doesn't that photo just sum up what fishing's about?
What it is.
Father and son, arm in arm.
Yep.
Father and son, arm in arm with a pair of big flatties. That just sums up recreational
Absolutely
fishing.
beautiful. Let's head down to Marlow and offshore this week. Some magnificent catches of yellowfin tuna. And we had this man sitting in the studio the other week, Craig England.
There was even some kingfish around
there. And again, some very choppy conditions. Have a look at that. It's pretty rough. The hairdo's a bit rough. He looked like he hadn't had a shower before he went out fishing, but anyway. Yeah, probably. And lucky last, Luke and Neil McKenzie headed down to Port Fairy and got some beautiful southern bluefin tuna weighing in around the 22 kilo mark. So well done, Luke and Neil, on lovely catches of southern bluefin tuna. And that's we'll
see them dominate catch of the week for the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to send in a pic of your catch of the week, this is what you have to do.
If you want to be like me and have your photo on TV, email your fishing pic to info@ifish.com.au.
Coming up on Talking Fishing, product of the week and plenty more up next on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
Product of the week. Brought to you by Tackle World. Now with 8 great locations around Victoria. Tackle World, where our advice is priceless. That's why it's for free.
See you down at Tackle World today.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing.
Really good work.
It is the season for getting out there and getting some nice native fish, and many people turn to their bait casters ads. And
They do.
Shimano have just released an upgraded model. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, tonight we're going to look at the new Shimano Kanan, which has been one of the more popular bait casters. I know for us, Trelly, who typically don't deal with a lot of bait cast reels, the Kanan's always been one of the ones that's our top sellers. It sits at a beautiful price point. It's in that sort of mid-range, but the features you get with it really set it apart and take it to a level which its price point doesn't really reflect. So before we get into it, we've got a short video put together by Shimano to show us a little bit on what's new in the new Shimano Kanan.
And ads, tell us all about it.
Now there's two models which differs from, I guess, the old model to the new one. In the old model that we had just a standard gear ratio. With this it sets it into 2. This one being a high gear, which is a 7.2 to 1 gear ratio.
Yep.
And the standard Kanan 150 is about the 6.2 to 6.4 to 1 gear ratio. I guess that the biggest thing in it would be its design. Shimano have gone into a new, I guess, very slimline profile with these new bait casters. They fit beautifully in the hand.
Sit low.
They sit very low, so and it's all about keeping a nice centre of gravity, so you're not wanting to roll while you're either casting or working a lure. Simple things make this reel, I think, punch well above its weight. Something like how comfortable the handle grips are. They've gone to a different rubber or something. I don't know if it's a different shape, but extremely comfortable. So keeping them low, I know it is a low profile bait caster, but keeping them very low and very compact makes them very easy to handle. It's a beautiful looking reel.
Cosmetics on it are great. They've really done a great job, the cosmetics, which matches in with a few of their rods.
That's right. Technically speaking, a few little things. I mean, Shimano are doing a lot of things with the technology that goes into these reels. Now, we can speak in specifics, and to be honest, it's something which 3/4 of the people won't understand. It's all to do with, I guess, the manufacturing of the internal parts. Everything that Shimano do these days in their reels is designed on working and being smoother for longer, and that's basically the basis. With Hagani, whether it's in the gears or whether it's in the body, and we've spoken about Hagani a lot in the past with the Stratix and a few of the newer reels that have come out. Basically, that's what Shimano are trying to achieve, and they are right there. They're leaps and bounds ahead.
Some of the features in this ads, if it's just butting in, some of the features in this, like while the retail price doesn't particularly change too much from the old model, some of the features do just drop down from the models that are above.
That's right.
So you'll see some of the technology coming through from some of the Chronarchs, which are like twice the price of reel it was a couple of years ago. You'll find those features in those.
Exactly.
And I
think that's a great point, because Shimano are doing it quite a bit. They're basically taking the design elements from the reels that sit in quite a high price point, and they're taking that concept, tinkering with them a little bit to fit another price point. And like I said, that reel, which depending on where you go and where you look, is going to retail for probably between $150 to $170. And like I said, it's punching way above its weight, because the value for money in that reel alone is exceptional, and it's what made the original Kanan probably one of the most popular bait casters on the market, and this new model is going to take it to a new level again.
And
Trelly, how's the drag on this? Like for the natives up your way, the cod, the yellow belly, is it
fine.
more than enough?
Looking about a 6 kilo drag on these.
Yep.
And really, if you put 6 kilo drag on a rod, honestly,
It's a lot.
and put it through a rod and actually work it like it's supposed to work, that's a lot of drag on a rod.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On a rod, yeah.
So
Now, you've got a couple of rods
I was
here,
gonna
Raz.
say,
You
well,
want to talk
speaking-
about what they'd be matched to?
That's right. So speaking of rods, Trelly, I thought I'd throw that one in
Yeah.
there, which you've got in your, well, you're holding at the moment. This would be the Loomis bait cars. Now, Loomis is a brand which used to be the ultimate. It was it. And it's kind of taken a little bit of a back seat as technology's progressed and bits and pieces. But the reason I grabbed it is there's some components of this rod which are cut above everything you'll find on the market these days. And I think the cork grips are one of them. They use a beautiful, high-end, really soft cork. It's unbelievably comfortable.
Great feedback.
The blank itself, this one in particular is an IMX blank, which I guess was Loomis's mid to high. There was that bridge between a standard blank and their absolute elite highest end blank.
Being the GLX.
It does, and it accompanies the reel because I think it worked on the same philosophy. You're getting great value for money and a lot of technology really bunched into something in a beautiful price point. So I brought in the Loomis for that. A lot of Barra guys love it. I know Trelly Loomis has just been
That's
probably
been,
one of the biggest sellers for your shop for a number of years.
It has, yeah. That particular model, 723, a lot of Loomis range, you take the first two numbers, so 723, 72 inches long, 6 foot long, and 3 weight. So you can get a 723, a 722 2 weight, 724 4 weight. So you can pick them by that.
Yeah.
It's like up to a 17 pound. But you notice the makeup of this, the guides are super duper light, and they're only put on by just a wafer thin bit of clear finish and binding, which retains the feel of those blanks incredibly well.
So beautiful rods for working lipless cranks,
Yep.
small minnows, because every
just
single bit
super
of
light.
vibration. That's right. You know
Super
when that
light.
Yeah.
lure is working.
Yeah.
What's the
because you can
other
feel it.
rod you got,
The other
Ads?
one there, we bought in the brand new Shimano Raider. This
Yep.
is a 2-piece 6'4" cod Raider, which I know. Again,
That's a
Trelly
good
would
length.
be huge through your shop, and I must admit that's now one of the highest selling baitcaster rods through our stores, Dave, because obviously it appeals directly to what's going on. Fisheries pouring a lot of money into the stocking of Murray cod. It's a massive, massive fishery, and it's only getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
It is a heavy rod, so you've got two completely contrasting rods here. This 17-pound Loomis, which is very sensitive, very light to feel, a great casting rod. In contrast, you've got the Cod Raider, which is quite heavy in nature. I think it's a 20 to 25-pound stick.
Yeah, exactly. This is
A
the big
beautiful
boy.
trolling rod,
Yeah.
or casting those real big spinner baits or those real big mumblers into skinny water is just
Exactly, and that'll
made for.
double up on, if you want to go and chase big barra, you double up on this one. Even if you really want to go and chase New Guinea black bass,
Yeah,
you'd
that's
even use that for New Guinea black
Yep.
bass. A little bit longer in the butt, so you can actually, you can belly it and work a little bit harder for some of those bigger fish, like when you're chasing meat or cod with this stuff.
Yeah,
so,
that's it. Yeah,
so yeah, a lovely rod. 10 mil guides all the way through for those big knots.
yeah, exactly right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So that's just a couple of rods that really complement the new Canaan, which I guess is the star of the show tonight. If you haven't seen one, pop into your local and have a look, because they really are a beautiful little reel that's jam-packed full of features for its price point.
And they will be coming in left hand.
Good to
So,
know.
yeah.
Trelly, back in the days that when Adam wasn't born and Paul Hogan got away with the names of his characters on TV quite
Woofers.
easily, yes. I reckon everyone had a bait caster. I certainly did, and everyone had one. I used to fish for brim with one,
Exactly.
And I don't reckon as many people have a bait caster these days. But
No.
the natives are taking off. We've got Barramundi about to go into Hazelwood Pondage, and if someone wants an entry level, this has got to be the exact one that you'd buy.
It is.
It's what you'd start with.
It's a great one. Like you say, Dave, you usually start off with the big barrel reels that sat like really high on your rod.
Yeah.
So it took 2 hands to get over it. These ones, they sit so low on your rod, and you can actually get your hand, like if you're winding that in, you can centre that in your hand. What a lot of people do is they hold that trigger finger there like that. You can see that trigger finger there and there.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Get it up into the second finger, or get it up into that last finger. What that does is it actually centres the weight of the reel in your hand. So when you're casting, your pivot point's in the middle of your hand rather than being an exaggeration like that. So so pivot that from that point there. And actually what you do is you extend that finger and put it on the top.
Yep.
Because if you don't, you use it like that, you use the bottom muscle of your arm. If you use it like that, creep it up, centre of gravity is in your hand, push it with your finger. And that's why I like left hand, because you can do a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Push it with your finger if you're casting, and you're using the top part of your arm.
Yeah,
and that's why you throw a dart over your eye and you push with that finger and you get much more accuracy.
There you go. Trelly's casting school.
Yeah, there you go.
Check it out. Kanan, the rod's beautiful, boys.
Yep, are in stock. Left-hand model on the way, which Trelly said, and there's two models.
Yep.
With a 7.2, and there's also a 6.2 to 6.4 as well.
Get in and check out the new Kanan, 2 different models, the high gear and the power gear, am I right?
Yeah, standard gear.
Get and check them out in your local tackle shop. Trelly, a few people that I know of that went up to the Murray River caught a lot of trout caught on the weekend. All small, around 10 centimetres. What's the go with that?
They're just going through a real boom. I mean, we saw them introduced probably 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, just below Yarrawonga Wall, and they've just spread through the whole system.
Is that natural recruitment or stocked?
I think it started off with stocking.
Yeah.
But I think some of it is actually natural recruitment now. So but they're very aggressive little fish. Like you'll put a bait on like a barley grub, which is 80 mil long, and you'll catch.
Well, a mate of mine used nothing but corn on the weekend, and got truckloads.
Okay.
Yeah. Silver perch.
Yeah,
plenty of those around too.
They've always been there. When you're fishing for silver perch, you put your $3 barley grub out and it goes diddle-diddle-dit, diddle-diddle-dit, diddle-dit. Man, my grub's gone.
Yeah.
That's one of those little brim, right? If you want to catch one, you've got to finesse fish from them. You've got to really go down to trout-size hooks. And you will catch them. You will catch them.
But there's some big models going around too. I saw some photos, and I didn't get them in time to put them up tonight, but some really good-looking silver perch.
Yeah, that's right.
Like good. And are they good to eat?
No, I haven't actually really tried them. I think I believe they're full of bones.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So.
Coming up on Talking Fishing, fisheries news, including how your fishing club can apply for a $2,000 government grant right after this.
Talking fishing.
Good morning, spotters. Stephanie speaking.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
And now it's time for the news, the fisheries news. Sounds a bit fishy to me.
Plenty of news, as always, in the fishing industry, and I'll tell you what, this one is just a cause for celebration, boys, for everybody that's in a fishing club in Victoria. The headline reads, Fishing Club Grants Open to Get More Victorians Fishing. And it says Victorian recreational fishing clubs are now eligible to apply for $2,000 grants to promote membership and update facilities. The Stronger Fishing Clubs Grants Program opened today, which was last Wednesday after the show, last Tuesday. For 12 months it's open and is a key part of the Andrews Labor government's Target 1 million election commitment, aiming to get more people fishing more often. This is something, boys, and we've had plenty of discussions with the powers to be about the talk that we've had for years and years that fishing clubs are declining in popularity.
Yep.
They're struggling to get kids and youth in, and there's so many other activities. Kids aren't enjoying water, they're enjoying ice instead, and it's damn bloody terrible. And this is all about $2,000. It's really a very, very simple application to do, and you can put an ad in the paper if you want to say, come and join our club. You can put a street sign pointing to the Shepparton Angling Club. You can run a talk night if you want to run a talk night. You can upgrade your club rooms if you want. It's just a really good thing for clubs. Not a lot of questions asked, but you obviously got to be accountable for the money. But get on and do something for your club. And we've all heard the stories.
Because the youth of nowadays have got so much competition in what they can do.
Correct.
Yeah.
With all the other things that are going on, but I feel fishing is actually coming back.
Yeah. The media release went on to say all Victorian fishing clubs that were operational as of 1st of January 2015 can apply. Favourable consideration will be given to clubs that propose to use the grant for membership drives, introductory fishing days, open days or marketing of their club with flyers, signage and website development. Consideration will also be given to applications for the purchase of club equipment, renovations or repairs to clubhouse and facilities. And if you've been to done talks at some of the club rooms, you just go, yeah, they're stuck in the 70s, they don't have a lot of money, and that this is just an opportunity. $2,000 up for grabs. Thank you very much. If you want to apply online, go to allthews.vic.gov.au/stronger fishing clubs. There you go, it's up on the screen right there, and we'll post all those details up on our Facebook tomorrow. There's a few other details if you want to give someone a call on the media release and all that sort of stuff, but all those details up there tomorrow. Boys, just thought we'd go back to last week. We talked about the Victorian government has proposed changes to the cost of the recreational fishing licence, and we've got just to recap, a quick table to put up that shows you. So currently 2-day licence $6, 28 $12, 1 year $24.50, 3 years $66, and under the proposal the 2-day goes to a 3-day for $10, 28-day goes to $20, 1 year increases to $35, 3 years goes to $95, and we just want to have a chat about it, continue the conversation.
We had quite a bit of
a lot of feedback.
We had a mixed response through the shop.
Yeah.
I think the initial reaction was, well, that's a bit steep.
Yeah.
But
why?
Once there was a little bit of step back and understand what's actually going on, the feedback was quite positive.
Yeah.
But that initial stance of hearing that money going up was, oh, come on.
It's always
what's going on,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so your wage hasn't gone up since 2010?
Yeah. Do you know something that really astonishes me is that politics is politics, and it's a grubby business. Now, sorry, apologies for the phone, but there's a post up here, and I know you can't see it too well on TV, but it's Matthew Guy, the opposition leader, and it says here in his Facebook page, throwing a line out is about to get a lot more expensive now that Daniel Andrews is planning to increase fishing licence fees by up to 70%. Share if you don't support this huge cash grab on fishers. It was their idea. In 2014, about a dozen anglers from different groups, and we read it last week on the show, that the Liberal government got everybody in a room and said, we want to put the price of fishing licences up, these are the prices we want to go to, and you guys all agree. And we said, yeah. As someone in the Premier's office pulled it on Peter Walsh and said, you can't do that, it's an election year. It was their goddamn idea. And here they are, hanging it on the camera. The anglers actually went to the government of today and said, can you get this back out? You know, it got packed away by the Liberal government. Can you get it back out and have a look at it? Because there is so much more that can be done for fishing with fishing licence revenue. And look, I had people in the shop debating with me this morning. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? So many people don't understand where it goes to. And we've got another table that we can throw up now that just shows where the licence money is spent, and that's just a bit of a snapshot of last financial year. So 2.2 mil went to grants that are applications by anybody. There's a whole lot of enforcement and education that goes on, particularly it was an agreement with anglers at the very start, 10 fisheries officers, and a bit of education over 2 mil. Fish stocking, 857,000. And what people don't get is that these things are going up in price.
Yeah, that's right.
Verfish is going to want more money than 424,000 next year. There's no doubt about it. They're going to want record funding. 424. Fish care, they're going to want more than 185,000. That's what they were given last year. So, the costs of everything's going up. If you don't do something about licences, because they've only gone up twice in 20 years, if you don't do something, this is going to fall behind.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you can see the rest of how it was spent last financial year. And I know that table's a bit vague and I've compacted it a bit, but
take that top one, Dave. I mean, funding. I mean, some of that might people might not know out there. Some of that might peer back some other funding from government departments,
absolutely,
like
it does,
who want to give access to fishermen. So it might not be spent on fish or on fish water, but it might be spent on access to getting to your favourite fishing hole. Killing of blackberries, grading a road, doing up some infrastructure so you can get your boat in. So a lot of that is actually disguised in other areas and bits and pieces, but it does come out of that.
Charlie, the last segment we just spoke about how many trout cod are being caught now. Some of that stocking, how good the Murray cod is, how good the golden perch is. The licence fund brings that to recreational fishers. And for $35 a year, I don't reckon it's too much to say. I'm pretty proud of what that money goes towards. So anyway, after the break, we're going to talk about how people can have their say. It's up next. Up next, Kramer's Mailbag, and we continue the discussion on how you can have your say on the proposed increase to fishing licence fees next on Talking Fishing.
Talking Fishing. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
Plenty of mailbag, and we want to get back to the conversation about how you can have your say on the increase of licence fees. But boys, get straight back into this mailbag. First one, Kramer. Just a real quick email letting you know that after the recent rain, the Jamison River is alive and well.
Nice.
Shane has been lucky enough to get the week off, and he got away just before Easter, before the crowds got up there. After fishing for 2.5 hours, it's longer than he normally would, but he had to clear a tree. He's decided to tell us all about that. I managed upwards of 40 fish during the sessions. My most productive, most fish were in the 20 to 30 centimetre range, 4 of them in the 35 to 40 centimetre range. Get up the Jamison. It's fishing pretty good. Next one. Hi David, this is from Philip Jordan. My name is Phil. While I agree with the increase due to money going back into fishing, my question is, will the money go back into our boat ramps? In making them free as a rec angler paying for the licence, I am sure others will agree that it should account for ramps included in the fee, and expanding the current ramps as they can't handle the increased fishing pressure. We need more ramps in the bay, more parking room. We should be taking a leaf out of New South Wales book with their ramps. So true, Philip. And unfortunately, you have a fisheries department that is very good with their finances, and all the money from the licence goes straight back into a trust fund and gets spent on licences. Unfortunately, the boating stuff doesn't. It doesn't go back into ramps near as much as it should, because it goes into consolidated revenue and doesn't help one little bit. But anyway, just we'll fix it. We'll fix it. This one come from Darren. He says, "G'day guys, I don't mind paying the extra for licensing, but I want a guarantee that one thing will happen." It just says
ramp orientated, isn't it?
For sake, fix the fix the ramps. You can't read what he wrote. I can't read what he wrote. Anyway.
Oh, you had a few colourful words in there.
FFS.
Next one's from Sean. Hello, David, Adam, and Trelly. Wishing you and your families an enjoyable and safe Easter.
Oh, not bad. I like this place.
There you go. I visited Lake Tyers last weekend with the family for a relaxing fishing session. We tried Fisherman's Landing for a couple of hours, caught a lot of undersized bream, and the kids had a ball, and that's what they love. But what impressed me was the quality of the jetty that was newly installed there. Floating pontoon style stainless steel balustrading with rod holders spaced out along the sides, plenty of seating, and 4 to 5 bait fish cleaning boards mounted in the middle. And it was clean. A local was fishing there too, and he told me that it was a result of our RFL fees. There you go. If this jetty is the type of improvement we are expecting from fee spending, then the fee increases proposed have my full support. The price increases you spoke about on your show seem very reasonable, and I would have no problem paying the proposed prices and future increases, knowing that we'll be able to enjoy quality fisheries from quality rec fishing infrastructure such as the jetty at Fisherman's Landing at Lake Tyers. Well done, Sean. Appreciate your comments. The next one's from Chris. Hi Kramer and boys, we have heard much about the Target 1 Million project, but I wonder, is it as part of this, has there also been a comparison done between land-based to boat fisher people? My gut feel is that land-based fisher persons far outweigh those fishing from boats, yet TV shows and many government projects are all skewed towards boat fisher people.
Well, there you go.
Even Talking Fishing, Catch of the Week photos are predominantly from boat fisher people, and even hotspots are more likely to come up from boaties rather than land-based. I'll get in this week. Anyway, I'm not saying that land-based fisher people are not represented, but there does seem some disproportionate representation leaning towards boaties. One example, when you consider the lack of safe access provided to some inland waterways for land-based fishermen, yet we always seem to keep hearing about is boat ramps, boat ramps, boat ramps. So true. Thanks for your comments, Chris. Jesse Edwards, hello Kramer, love the show, but any of you boys know where the new licence monies go to? Breeding fish? I have no idea and would like to know. Well, we showed you that table just before, Jesse, and that's where it goes. It's just going to expand on some of those things. Keep going. This one's from John. I should vet these before I read them, should I?
This is a good
anyway,
one.
No, I don't know that, but some people swear,
you know. Upside down, Mr. Squiggle there.
Yeah. Hi guys, love your show. I try and catch it most Tuesdays when I remember, or definitely on the weekend because we're repeated Saturday mornings. With the introduction of the increased 2016 RFL fees to come in line with New South Wales, is it possible through you guys or your show to possibly ask the question to Vic and or New South Wales governments to include the Murray River in the Victorian boundary for fishing? If I go to the Murray, say for 4 days over Easter or longer, I have to purchase a monthly or yearly RFL for New South Wales on top of my Victorian RFL, which will double my fees to fish the Murray. I am all for the increase, but they are doing good work with the funds, but enough is enough.
Truth
from John.
is, New South Wales wants your money. They won't let it up.
They won't, will they?
It's their fault.
They won't give it away.
It's their fault,
more
not ours.
Victorians fish the Murray than
There's
New
more
South Wales.
Victorians by New South Wales licence
so
than New South Wales by Victorian. It'll never. Yeah.
Well, we're trying.
Lucky last before we try and get back into the licence talk. Hi David, Adam and Trelly, this is from Barry. While I agree wholeheartedly with the licence fee increases, I was astounded to see in the Weekly Times on March 26th that Minister Jala Pulford stating that, quote, extra money would also pay to remove commercial netting licences from Port Phillip Bay, unquote. I've heard many times that the monies for the netting buyback was budgeted for in the budget. Why then is it coming out of the RFLs? Great show. Keep up the good work, Barry. Well
picked up.
Yeah, no, no, because Barry just hasn't been paying attention. The target 1 million, which was Adam, as you will recall, that was read out on 3AW in 2014.
Correct.
By Daniel Andrews. That
there.
was before the election. He read out, and the fourth last line says Labor will allocate $20 million to halt commercial netting in Port Phillip Bay and Corio Bay over 8 years, increasing fish stocks for recreational anglers and offering a clear and fair exit strategy for licence holders. So they only ever promised $20 million. The actual calculation there, no one knew. I mean, they didn't actually go and say, well, these guys are going to get out in the first year, these guys second year, what's their compensation? The compensation package has come to 27 million.
Yeah.
They promised 20.
Yeah.
Another 7 has got to come from licence money.
So would
That's just the way it is.
It's not blatant like carbon tax promise, is it?
No.
Would it be fair to say that they were caught a bit off guard by how many of the licence holders all just handed them in right from the word go?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that didn't help them too.
Yeah, that would have.
But anyway, look, that's paid off. So anyway, just to clarify that,
right there, Dave.
Yeah.
20 million bucks up front. That was way before the election they promised, and that's the way it is. If you'd like to write to me or these blokes, this is what you do.
Send your mail to Kramer's Mailbag, PO Box 734, Patterson Lakes, Victoria 3197, or email kramer@ifish.com.au.
The show is flying, but I tell you what, coming up next week's Hotspots, and we're going to show you the bit of paper that you fill in when you fill out your licence RIS response.
How you can have your say.
Up next on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
G'day, Callan here from Paul Worslim's Tackle World Cranbourne. Supercharged batteries have been supplying maintenance-free marine batteries since 2001. The Seamaster Gold range is second to none, delivering superior starting power and reserve capacity. No need to top up with water, truly a fit and forget battery. With up to 2 years replacement warranty, you know you have quality. Your battery is your lifeline. Without it, you're dead in the water because it's bloody hard to push start. I've got a Seamaster battery in my boat. Make yours a Seamaster Gold today.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
Hello, Richie Minnow here. It's now time for this week's Fishing Hotspots on Talking Fishing. Marvellous.
Oh dear. It is a female. Not,
Well, I'd hope so.
it is a
Wouldn't it?
female. We're going to try and get through so much in about the next. What have we got? 12 minutes
For
left.
Richie's sake, I hope it's a female.
Last week, just before we get on to hotspots, last week we asked people on our Facebook page to come up with some names. I've got some highlights
There's a
here.
clear winner.
No. Someone said Laurie Beth, which is Richie Cunningham's girlfriend's name off Happy Days.
Oh, right. I wouldn't have got
Good.
The next bloke said Russell. There was Daphne, Coral, Sinkerbell. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
Bubbles.
Bubbles.
She looks like Bubbles, doesn't she? I don't know what Bubbles looks like. The next one said Barry. Minnie, Daisy, Marlene.
Marlene,
Yeah, I like that. Paul,
Paul.
Hootie.
Victoria. But we thought some of the best ones was Chloe the Blowy,
Yeah.
for Glowfish,
Yeah, the blowfish.
Moo Moo Minnow,
Got our attention.
Clear number one. Clear number one.
Kylie Minnow,
Kylie Minogue. Yeah.
Charlie, your
some of them.
favourite, Bitchy Minnow.
Pitchy Minogue.
Anyway, a bit of fun. I think we've reposted that tonight, and if you want to get on and suggest some more names, we might draw a winner next week of the best name for Richie Minow's girlfriend.
I know, we're on,
Tag
mate.
on
3
there.
months after they're together, so they'll have a different name for it.
Oh dear. All right, I'm going to get onto it. Someone's yelling at me. You get on with it. Let's have a look at hotspots and let's head over to the western side of Port Phillip Bay. Straight up, and Clifton Springs is absolutely on fire with a late run or early run of late season snapper trolley.
Oh, there you go. Here's a late snapper.
And some elephant
Yeah.
fish amongst it. I
Exactly,
see.
yeah. Some nice snapper over there in the deeper water.
Yeah.
In amongst the shallow water whiting, which has been going really well over that way.
Yeah.
And like you say, there's a few elephant fish being caught there too.
There you go. How good's that? The next one for you land-based people, particularly that guy who wrote in.
Yeah, Bazza.
Was it Bazza?
No.
Wasn't
No,
Bazza. I don't know who it was. Seaford Pier is absolutely on fire right now for garfish. Don't be afraid to take a little burley pot with you
Oh, yeah.
and dangle it off the side of the
Oh,
pier.
yeah.
Like everyone thinks that's a boat thing, a burley pot.
No.
Take it to a pier, get a little bit of burley going. You don't have to flick it out and all that. Put in a burley pot like you would in a boat, tie it off and
Give
and
it a shake every now and then.
Yep. Shake, rattle and roll and a bit of silverfish for bait, and there is plenty of garfish available off the Seaford Pier, and when that fills up, move on to Frankston Pier because there's plenty there too. Let's head over to Western Port, and the whiting are going to be red hot this weekend off Tankerton. I can just tell. There's some good fish down that southern end of Western Port, certainly around that Tankerton area has been really good. The next one, Western Entrance, absolutely on fire for gummies at the moment. There's been some sensational gummies coming out of Western Port this week.
I reckon it's been a hell of a year on gummies so
It's
far.
been pretty
fairly
good.
Lots of
early at
catch of the
moment.
weeks.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah. Let's head to one of our favourites. So we talk about Blue Rock Lake as the next hot spot. Get in before the nights are starting to get cool.
Yep.
That water will cool down. Just a bit of rain and that coming into that area will cool it right down. Get into the bass right now before it gets too cool.
that's
But
Don't speed.
don't speed. There's been some pretty bad stories coming out of there.
Yep.
Water police have been down there really hot. When someone launches a jet ski, you know they're going to go
is
more than
anyone thinking
10
of taking
knots.
a jet ski down to Blue Rock?
Don't.
Wake up to yourself.
You're just going to spoil it for everybody. If it hasn't been spoiled already, because lots of bad stuff we're hearing about that. And lucky last, Lake Eildon again. Get up there for the last of the natives, well, not the last of the natives, but it's cooling down, and the trout will come on shortly now. They'll come out of those deep, cold waters and start heading to the surface. It's a lovely time of year. The grasshoppers and the crickets are everywhere, and all that insect life. So Lake Eildon, head up there and enjoy it. So now. Let's get into what we wanted to talk about, boys, from about 3 breaks ago. Is that if you get onto Fisheries website or whatever, I can't remember what it said now, but Google it, Victorian recreational fishing licence fees increase. They've actually put a pro forma, which is a 2-page document, asking you some questions, some specific feedback. And we thought if we can just go through in the next, say, 4 minutes, boys, let's look at some of the questions and how you would answer them. Let's give the people at home a bit of a hint, because seriously, this takes only a few minutes to fill out, and the Victorian government really do want to hear from you. So let's start with number 1. Trelly, how would you answer this? Your name.
Yeah, I got stuck on that one, so we'll go to number 2.
No, okay.
Phone a friend.
Number 1 is, do you support spending more to improve recreational fishing opportunities in Victoria? It's a yes or no.
Yes.
It'd have to be a yes.
Yep.
Hopefully, yes.
Do you agree that the recreational fishing licence fees should increase by the amounts outlined in the proposed regulations that will generate between an additional 3.3 and 3.8 million annually, or should the increase in licence prices be smaller and consequently generate less revenue to spend on improving rec fishing opportunities? Ads?
Yes, agree with the increase.
Yep. Trolley?
That was the question before, was it? No. No, it should, because as you
You're
know,
lost by question 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, you're still bugging on the name.
The name, yeah.
everything's gone up.
Yeah.
To breed fish, everything's gone up. So you have to have an increase in that.
Yeah.
And like that, you could break that down a little bit and put you'd like it to see it more into stocking and things like that. So
I think the question specifically is around, have they got the increase right?
Yeah.
If it's going to generate between 3.3 and 3.8 million, I think that's pretty damn spot on, because if it only provide another 500,000, that gets lost in the scheme of things. It had to be a significant jump for us to really see some real boosts in improving recreational fishing. The next question, do you agree that a price discount of around 5% should be provided for online purchases of 1 and 3 year licences?
What's the incentive?
Oh, you don't reckon?
No. What for?
No discount?
No.
Geez, you're harsh.
What for, though? What about old mate who's got no idea how many complaints do we get from people trying to use a boat ramp these days that can't pay unless they're online?
Yeah, true.
Half the people buying a fishing licence have still got no idea what online is.
No.
So why aren't they entitled to a discount? Just make it one price.
Well, I think it's as far as the infrastructure goes behind that, if you're buying it online and getting a discount, there's no manual labour associated with writing it out.
I was going to say,
and there's also
because the administration costs.
The administration costs, and we saw before that
Yeah.
it's well over $1 million for administration, which is, I think, 3 staff, some consultants, all that computer work entering in, because they get our little paper books that we send in every month.
Which you can barely read because every second person who writes like they write it with their left foot.
Yeah.
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
No, you make a very good point. I was a supporter of the discount for online, but the difference too is that
My
online.
bosses like to know I don't give discounts.
Yeah, the online application for rec fishing licence, you actually get a plastic card in the mail, whereas if you buy it through the shop, you don't. So
I do like that.
All right, next one. Do you agree with the proposal to replace the current 2-day licence with a 3-day licence at the new price of $10, up from $6?
Yes, 100%.
What's only gone up?
It's like what was his name of Welcome Back Cotter?
Epstein or something, was it?
Epstein.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No, that's right.
Back when, what was Paul Hogan's character? We won't go there. We were talking about that earlier on, weren't we?
Harry Potter.
If you look, it's $6 for 2 days.
Harry Potter.
$10.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
No, that was Welcome Back Cotter.
Oh, right.
You idiot.
Yeah, right.
You idiot. So 2 days is $6. 3 days is $10. So per day it's $3 a day. So it's only gone up 30 cents a day. You get 3 days instead of 2 days. So
Charlie, I missed
$3 a
that
day.
because someone in my ear was just saying that it was Horse Shack.
What?
Oh, Horse Shack.
Horse Shack. That used to
Now-
go, in Welcome Back Cotter.
Now I got no idea.
How do we get Epstein out of that?
Well, he's one of the
Was
characters.
it Horse Shack Epstein?
Yeah, and Washington.
All right, sorry. Now I'll ask this question again because I wasn't listening to you because they're yelling Horse Shack in my ear. Do you agree that a price discount of... Oh, no, that was the last one. Do you agree with the proposal to replace the current 2-day licence with 3-day? Yep. Sorry, what were you saying?
Times that. It's per day. It's $3 a day.
Just say yes.
So it's now 2 days is $6. 3 days is $9.
Good one,
It's the same as New South Wales, and it's only going up
on up
33
over.
cents a day.
Good one.
Yep.
You agree with that too?
Yep.
Not
Will the
70%.
proposed fee increases and additional funding of recreational fishing initiatives make you more or less likely to purchase a recreational fishing licence, or will it not change your behaviour? Will you increase or reduce the amount of recreational fishing you do?
I will not reduce the amount of recreational fishing I do, but it will not change my behaviour, because the fact of the matter is it's a hell of a lot more expensive to cop the fine for not having a fishing licence. Even after the new pricing comes in, it will not change a thing for me. The fact of the matter is you have to have a fishing licence regardless of what it costs.
Yep.
At least you know the money you're paying for the increase is going back towards the recreation you're trying to support. So it will not change my behaviour. You've got to have a fishing
Oh,
licence.
no, wouldn't change mine
Go for
either. Just go
Do you think, like old mate that wrote into us before about, he was kind of proud that he'd been down to Lake Tyres and he'd actually seen something.
And use the facilities.
Yeah, now he would have paid $24.50 a year.
Yep.
And he's got a facility that probably cost $100,000.
Yep.
You know, when you go to Devil Bend, for instance, ads. You know, there is some really good fishing platforms there.
That's right.
They were funded by RFL revenue. Now, you know, all you got to contribute under the new proposal is $35 to get that.
Yep.
And if you've got a ramp like you're talking about,
yep,
and it's making it easier to take your kids fishing,
yep,
you wouldn't have
or you
a problem.
just feel a little bit like a bit more buy-in to what you actually get for your $35. Are there other ways that fees could be structured to increase revenue in a way that is fairer or simpler? Can I answer that one?
Tough question there. This has got you written all over it.
Yeah, no, the old blokes, in fact, old blokes were in there today bagging me, but I sincerely think that pensioners somehow should, you know, contribute to RFLs, and whether it's just the cost of admin or whatever. Boys, I'm getting told we've got to wind it up. If you believe there will be other impacts not discussed in the RIS or have any further feedback on the proposed regulations, please include them here. And if you get onto Fisheries website, you will find that. And seriously, have your say, because that's what the government wants.
We strongly encourage people to do this, because...
And all you got to do is answer those questions.
That's right. And they're easy
very, very simple. That all that information's there. Just answer it. Hopefully we've given you some good hints on all that. That's it for Talking Fishing. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure you do take the time to have your say on the fishing licence fee increases. All the details, we'll put them up on our Facebook page. It takes less than 5 minutes, and it is important that the state government hears the opinions of the wreck angler. Until next Tuesday evening on Talking Fishing, please stay safe on the water and enjoy your fishing.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. We got all you need, just take a look. Watch those fish jump on your hook. So just relax and take your time. Enjoy the show, then drop us a line. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. Talking fishing.
Have a good weekend, Mr. Walker.
You too, son.